Can you explain as well as you can what it was like writing the Supple Leopard?
Oh my God. I didn't go on vacation for a year. We had 2 young kids in the house. You see the first edition, the white edition of Supple Leopard has, you can see my little tiny children in there. And, you write a book not because you're going to make money on it. That's the worst. I mean, you'll never make money. You write a book because until you write a book about an idea, you haven't made it real. You can have, how many videos have I put up? 10,000 videos. Who knows, right? How many videos has Mark put up? And the key here at some point is you need to be really clear about your understanding and your rationale for the understanding. And the book, it just almost destroyed me. My hair fell out. People don't realize that we were doing that. You would come down to the gyms and coach with me on Thursday nights. And I would be there until like 9 o'clock. You would be there lifting, coaching, and helping. And I would just pick your brain. And it was this amazing time. And then you would give me snacks because I had to get up at 4 in to go fly somewhere. And then I would get back at Sunday late at night and sleep in the table in my treatment room so I could coach at 5:30 on Monday morning. It was grim. I didn't know if I was going to survive. And then we just threw the book in on top of that. So, between Juliet and I, it was a devastating piece. But the big work has been done. At some point, everyone knows that the forward progress is not sexy. Like, you get on a good squat cycle, man, your life is not great during that time. But once you put in the work, then you don't have to work that hard ever again. And I think that's really the bottom line. And, I'd really encourage people, when you see people battling on the internet, just do me a favor and say, hey, I'd really love to read your book on that. And what you'll see is that most people shut the hell up because it really is tricky to do that. And even if it's a small book, it's still a book where you have to defend your ideas and put it out and let people test it and retest it. And I don't think people really understood what we were talking about. And fast forward 10 years, where I've had 10 years to get better at explaining my ideas and concepts, right? I've had 10 years of being more efficient at explaining the principles. But the things I'm teaching on the internet today, I use Instagram and YouTube as an adjunct, as sort of like my workbook. It's the companion piece to what's on the website in the book. So if you want to see what it really looks like, go to those things. But the principles that we laid out in Supple Leopard are still rock solid, which is crazy to me that book is still doing what it's doing. The next edition will come out early next year, and we're going to talk more about pain and more about lifestyle and, how athletes, because really the revolution right now is most of the things that we have problems with, we don't ever need to see someone. We need another athlete friend to help with. And that means we can move and skip along and have a lot less missed training days. And I'm not going to worry about my knee on these heavy squats because I'm already ready to go. So that's really the future. People will go see medical professionals when they're injured or when they have pathology. Everything else is in the domain of the coach and the athlete. So that's really the next goal.
So you kind of very nicely glossed over something that I did want to talk about, and it kind of got lost in everything. And I think it's a really important piece to talk about as far as like someone who is working hard and, in this entrepreneurial kind of mindset of things. So I just want people to understand this. Like, I would come down to San Francisco in the parking lot, and you would have your puffy vest on. And on Thursday, you would work until 9 o'clock. You would drive an hour home, then you'd usually get a pizza, eat it, and then crash. Get up Friday morning, fly somewhere, teach 2 courses, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, fly back, get up on Monday, literally sleep in a box. And if people don't understand this, is literally, it was the storage container in the parking lot, right off of Christie Fields. So not super, super sexy. I've been in there a couple times, many times, and not a comfortable situation. And then you would coach and you would continue to do that, and then you would repeat. How long did you do that in a row? What was your longest, stretch of things? Because I was in there in the middle of it, and we ended up having to have a conversation about, you starting to really break down. And I don't think people quite understand the hard work that you put in to get where you are today. People, again, kind of gloss over because they don't know the history. But correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was something you did that for a year in a row, correct?
Yeah, probably over a year. And, One of the things that I came out of a generation of was all of the masters were accessible. All you had to do was show up at the gym early and shut up and be of service and be stoked and bring coffee, and you could go. So working with Mike Bergner, when I knew I needed to really understand Olympic lifting in a real way. I was working with Jim Schmitz in the city. Before I found CrossFit, I was beginning to Olympic lift in a real informative way. I was on a program, a simple beginner's program. I knew Mike Bergner was sort of the man in CrossFit. And, I didn't know Jim Schmitz. I didn't know Penley yet. Penley and Spitz. I didn't have access to Moss Strength. I didn't know those people yet. But I had the opportunity to fly down to go work for Mike Bergner for a weekend as an apprentice coach, just helping him manage the room and have access to his coaching and his teaching. And I didn't get paid, but I would fly down on my own dime, sleep on a friend's couch, work all day, do 2 days in a row, come back, drop right back in. My wife had our 2 kids or 1 kid, right? I mean, it was gnarly, but we knew that, to get this thing going, you have to hustle and grind. And it's not sexy, and it's definitely not sustainable. And I think you were right. I mean, I was grim and stressed out and broke down. It wasn't until I turned 47 years ago that I really started to pull back on that, because, you pulled me aside and were like, dude, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm stressed. I'm going to die. And, I'm going to implode my life, and I'm, not making gains. And I just, my hair's falling out. I mean, it was tough. And, what I want everyone to appreciate is that the best thing you can do is start to serve your community. Be the most savage communitarian-based coach. Be the greatest coach in your gym. Be the greatest training partner you have. And then talk about what you're doing. And people will find you. People will start to associate. Be of service to people. But the internet flipped things around where you suddenly, you get confused about the real work of Eric Cressy and the work of, Greg Cook, or the work that the people have been doing this for decades. And they started with that piece first, really honing their craft, being excellent. And lo and behold, people will find you. I mean, it wasn't always that you had your own powerlifting gym, Jesse, and
right.
Instead, you drove up to San Francisco and were like, hey, I think Kelly has something that will improve my ability to coach. And, these things go both ways. So on the one hand, what I would say is, make sure you're taking care of the basics. Sleep as much as you can, eat the best foods you can, control what you control. And maybe, one of my biggest mistakes, this is classic. I would, and it led to a hamstring problem. I'd be doing physio and coaching all day. I'd have 45 minutes. I'd try to go throw 400 or 500 pounds on the bar, box squatting. And lo and behold, I ended up with a hamstring tendinopathy. Remember that hamstring insertion problem? And then I would go right back in and train or go coach and teach. Like no pumping out. No, I basically warm up on the bar, try to smash a PR, hit the goals, and then I go back and work. And dude, let me just tell you, no one can cheat their physiology. You cannot cheat your physiology. Even recently, our gym is still closed. Don't know what's going to happen. That's causing me some stress. My wife is a warrior. I'm a warrior. That's our genetic makeup. I'm drinking 9 shots of coffee every day, 9 espressos. 'Cause I'm at home, never my espresso machine. I'm only drinking fizzy water. I'm hypohydrated. Most of the time I'm not drinking enough water. I'm eating late at night because I'm stuffed. I'm not eating enough calories during the day, which is a classic mistake. So I developed this GERD. I developed like acid reflux, right? Which is kind of not a really big deal. Sometimes I throw up in my mouth if I lay down after a big meal. It's typical things. And guess what happens? I end up with hiccups for 9 days. I can't remember if it's 9 days or 11 days. And what I'm telling you is now I drink 1 coffee in the morning. I'm smashing way more water with salt, right? I got to stop eating late at night. I'm making sure that I'm doing some other things because it turned out I can't cheat my physiology. I was doing it once again where I'm super stressed, trying to hold all these things down, and my body was like, no. But instead of a little nagging hamstring problem, which was a nutrition problem, warm-up problem, adaptation problem, I created a stress problem, and I got the hiccups for 9 days. So I want everyone to appreciate you cannot cheat your physiology, and do not confuse your tolerance for silly bullshit with that is you're doing it right, because it will come to a point where you need to take a step back and look at your program holistically and look at your lifestyle holistically and appreciate that your lifestyle is as important as your training splits. Your lifestyle and feeling safe and feeling like you have training partners is just as important as, which bar you're putting on your back.